Welcome into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is David Wilson. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports content. Big day. A lot of Thursday night football going on at all levels, and we will be talking about it as well as getting you ready for some weekend stuff. So, David, what's happening?
How we doing, Mo? Everything's good my way. Beautiful day here in Nashville. Sun's out. It's getting a little chilly though. I finally whipped out the long sleeve shirt and the long pants. I feel like it's going to get really chilly tonight on the sidelines at a respective football game that I will be at. We'll get into that here a little shortly when we do the rundown. But it's starting to finally feel like fall, which is a good thing for some people. I get very cold, so I prefer the warmer summer weather. So really sad times for me as we start to get into those low 60s, upper 50s, and then it'll creep down to the 40s, and then that's where I'm going to be complaining my butt off.
Well, it's nice. I will tell you, it's nice to have somebody that will be complaining their butt off because I've had fun made of me for so long. I hate being cold. I hate being cold with a passion. So,
I'd rather
yeah,
be hot than cold.
any day. Yes. So, this is not fun, but yeah, it's feeling a lot like fall, and it's feeling a lot like long pants and that kind of thing. Summer's gone,
Mo,
unfortunately.
Mo, before we get started, I have to make a public service announcement. Excuse me. I need to apologize to our fans in the Pacific Northwest. At around this time yesterday, they were up 3-0, I believe, and we were talking to Heather Williams, and I said, "God, the Mariners have it in the bag. They're headed to the American League Championship Series. So all the hate mail and the mean tweets and DMs, they can come directly to me. I bear full responsibility." And for a little context, Heather, fan of the Kansas City Royals, she was kind of happy that the American League Central foes are about to find their way outside of the playoffs, and that is not the case now. So, Seattle fans, I apologize greatly.
My concerns with Heather were of a different sort, as there was a certain football game involving her alma mater and mine last night, and I'm kind of glad that I wasn't on with her yesterday. As things turned out, we'll be getting to that in the rundown. But yeah, we're just going to leave that at that for now. Fortunately, I've not seen Heather in a while, and not looking forward to when I do. So anyway, plenty to talk about on this Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. In our Coaches Corner segment at 2:40-ish, we will be joined by INGLE Martin of Christ Presbyterian Academy. The Lions getting ready for a big matchup, a TV matchup tomorrow night against Ensworth. We'll be checking in with Coach Martin again in segment number 3. In the second hour, we will be joined by KIMMEL of Penalty Box Radio. The Nashville Predators open their 2025-26 National Hockey League schedule tonight at home as the Columbus Blue Jackets visit Bridgestone. Looking forward to talking to Ann about her thoughts as we head into the season and the season opener tonight. So we will catch up with her in the second hour. We'll also be talking a little WNBA, a little Major League Baseball playoffs, as David alluded to a second ago. We'll also get into some National Football League and some college football. Man, if you were on social media last night, college football, one college football program in particular was kind of taking center stage. It was it was more entertaining than any of that program's games have been this fall for sure, but we'll get into that later in the show as well. Kind of looking forward to it. But a lot to get to, so we should probably work at getting to it, David, with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
One contest on the docket last night in girls soccer in the TWSLA. It was Harpeth picking up a 5-0 win over East Hickman in district play in college football. As Mo mentioned, down at the Borough last night was Missouri State picking up a 22-20 win over MTSU and dropping the Blue Raiders to 1-5 on their season last night on ESPN2. In Major League Baseball, as Calvin and I discussed yesterday, there were count them, four potential series clinching matchups on the docket yesterday. And some series have been extended. The first one is Detroit picking up a 9-3 win in Game 4 of the American League Division Series. So that one is headed to a Game 5 in Seattle here in a few days. The Cubs extended their season as well. They were 4-3 victors over the Milwaukee Brewers to extend their series to a decisive Game 4 this afternoon in Wrigley Field. Last night, the Toronto Blue Jays punched their ticket to the American League Championship Series for the first time since 2016. They took care of the New York Yankees in the Bronx last night by a final score 5-2. And the Phillies kept their hopes of getting back to the National League Championship Series and the World Series alive last night in Chavez Ravine. It was the Phillies' A2 victors over Yoshitshibu Yamamoto, the Dodgers. In the W last night, Mo is a happy camper. You know why? It's the Las Vegas Aces pick up a 90-88 win over the Phoenix Mercury. Las Vegas leads that series 3-0. Is on the doorstep of yet another WNBA title.
High school football action tonight, 7 o'clock kicks unless otherwise stated. David Wilson coming to a sideline near you. Franklin Road Academy at Antioch, matchup of two unbeatens here. Should be a fun game. And incidentally, we have had both Justin Geisinger and Arcente Broom on these very airwaves here recently. So we say good things happen when you come on Main Street Sports today. We'll see who that holds up for tonight. FRA at Antioch, 7 o'clock kick. Also, Battleground Academy taking on visiting Chattanooga Prep tonight. West Creek travels to Cane Ridge. Shelbyville is at Clarksville in the Main Street radio game of the week. You can hear the golden tones of Casey Patrick and Calvin White, Mike's side, for the Eagles and the Wildcats tonight in Clarksville. Henry County is at Clarksville Northwest. Lawson goes crosstown to Hillsboro. Cheatham County is at Hunters Lane. Rossview goes to Overton. Clarksville Northeast is at Kenwood. Creekwood is at Kirkwood. Whites Creek is at Maplewood, and Marshall County goes to Montgomery Central. Again, all of those tonight, 7 o'clock starts. Volleyball action. These are district tournaments as Lincoln County takes on Lawrence County at 4 o'clock in Tullahoma. Coffee County follows against Columbia in Tullahoma. That is a 5:30 start. The championship game will be after. At 5 o'clock today, Franklin Road Academy takes on Providence Christian. Battleground Academy plays at Middle Tennessee Christian at 7, and at 6 o'clock in TSIAA volleyball action, FC Boyd Christian is at Zion Christian. Again, that is a 6 o'clock start in volleyball.
Yeah, girls soccer matchups tonight across the T-Loss Way, starting at 4 o'clock. First touch for Siegel at Franklin County. 4:30 for Greenbrier at Springfield, a little Robertson County rivalry matchup right there. Christian Community at White House, also 4:30 first touch. 6 o'clock for the following. Lawrence County at Battle Creek. Montgomery Central at Harpeth. Marshall County at Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Giles County at Spring Hill. Cheatham County at Sycamore. And East Robertson at White House Heritage. 6:30, Coffee County at Columbia. 7 o'clock, Middle Tennessee Christian at Columbia Academy. And a high stakes, district match tonight. It's Hendersonville at Gallatin, 7 p.m. First touch. Tonight in the NFL, if you have some advice for me for my fantasy team, I'm trying to figure out if I need to play Cam Scattaboo. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants, 7:15 on Amazon Prime. In Major League Baseball tonight, 2 Game 4s on the schedule. The first, 5:08 Central Time on TBS. It is the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then tonight in the nightcap, 8:08 Central Time, also on TBS. It's Milwaukee Brewers looking to advance to the National League Championship Series at the Chicago Cubs. Ladies and gentlemen, those were your scores. That was your schedule, and that concludes today's rundown.
Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as David mentioned in the rundown, the Las Vegas Aces are one win away from their third WNBA championship in 4 seasons. A. Wilson with the game winner as the Aces knocked off host Phoenix 90-88 last night. And you may not have seen it, but she made as tough a shot as you can make. Phoenix defended it about as well as you could defend it with DeWanna Bonner and AT right there on the shot, and she just elevated over both of them and knocked it down to snap an 88-all tie with about 2 seconds left, and not a whole lot else the Mercury could do at that point. Great ball game. Vegas was in control of it until they weren't. They were up 76-59 at one point. Phoenix ran all the way back at them, tied it up before the best player in the league did what the best player in the league does, completing a 34-point, 14-rebound performance. Just continuing to show everybody why she's the best player in the league and MVP yet again. Asia Wilson with another big game as the Aces defeat Phoenix 90-88 on their floor. Game 4 tomorrow night. Is that video or is that just a picture, Mark?
Just a photo.
Oh, okay. That's unfortunate. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you can see where the defenders are. She just goes up over them and knocks it down. She's fantastic, man. If y'all are not watching this, you are missing some great stuff, and you are missing one of the best to ever do it. I mean, Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, Maya Moore, all of them, and she's right there. I saw a stat last night. She has scored, I think, 291 points in 11 postseason games. That's the most in a WNBA postseason. Now, they're playing more postseason games than they ever have, but at the same time, she's scoring more points than anyone else has. But it's just further indication of the stud that she is, period. She's one of the best to ever play in this league or women's basketball, period. And it's, just so much fun to watch. And, those that aren't, I feel for you.
Yeah, Mo, last night, 34 points for Asia Wilson on 11 of 20 shooting. Also had 14 rebounds. Her fifth 30-point double-double in the playoffs, and also just the third time in WNBA history in the finals that a player had a 30-point double-double. She joined Breanna Stewart, who did it in 2021, and Jonquel Jones, who did it Breanna Stewart did it twice in 2021 and 2024, and Jonquel Jones did it in 2019. You're on the brink. You're on the cusp. You're on victory watch. You're on champagne watch. So tomorrow night you will probably have your eyes glued on a TV for Game 4 of that series. So I know that you're excited. You've gone through the ebbs and flows. I remember that decisive Game 5 against the Fever. You were living with them and you were dying with them.
Well, see, here's the thing, man. It's actually the Aces are really Wade's team. I have become more of an Atlanta Dream follower, but they had such a quick exit, and I really do. I just respect this team and what they've done here over the last few years. And, Becky Hammond does a great job. Asia Wilson is Asia, and the players that they constantly have around her. This franchise is just, to me, I mean, the Liberty is what it is. The Lynx are what they are. But, for my money, and the Aces are the favorite until they're out. So, and that's kind of been the case this time around. They had to have that crazy 16-game win streak to close the regular season to get into the number 2 seed heading into the postseason. But they pretty well lived up to that and then some once they got there. And you and I have talked on this show about championship pedigree and that kind of thing. There was talk. We've talked with Willie G. Ramirez at various points throughout the season, wondering whether this team had the goods, as Wade likes to say, whether the window was closing, that kind of thing. Clearly it wasn't. They just kind of, there are mirages in the desert, and maybe that was one that the Aces are done. Clearly they're not. So
Yeah, I agree with you there on Becky Hammond. I adopt the Aces as my quote unquote WNBA team, considering I'm a big Spurs fan, and obviously she spent time on the bench at the NBA level, excuse me,
mm-hmm.
with Greg Popovich, and so she learned from obviously one of the best to ever do it. Not to say that she's not a great coach on her own merit, but anytime you can sit on a bench with Pop, she filled in several times as well when he was sick or thereafter. She was the head coach for the Spurs, and so obviously her experience is second to none. Also a great player as well. So um, they're on champagne watch, and so we'll see if they'll get it done tomorrow night in Phoenix. It's an adjustment though. We talked about this. This is the first year that they've gone to a 7-game series format. Normally, this series will be over now. It'd been a sweep.
Right.
So obviously they have to finish the job, and I'm sure she's got them prepared to do so. Hopefully tomorrow night.
And no doubt. Jewel Lloyd with 16.7 rebounds off the bench for the Aces in that win. Jackie Young, 21 points and three rebounds, 4 assists. The point guard, Chelsea Gray, 11 points, 5 assists. I mean, they're just getting it from a number of different angles, but when it all comes down to it, and both Asia and Becky said after the game, basically it was just give the ball to Asia and get out of the way. Part of coaching is knowing when to not. And when you got the best player on the floor, you can do that. Give her the ball and get out of the way. And it worked. Now, to be fair, worst case scenario, they were going to go overtime. But still, she got it done. And they are on champagne watch. I wonder how it feels. You're up 3-0. You're playing game 4 away. You'd like to get that storybook finish in front of your home crowd and that kind of thing, but at the same time, you don't want to give the other team an opportunity to catch their breath or to extend this thing any farther. So tomorrow will be interesting in Phoenix, I think.
I don't think you take it for granted. I think you try to put your foot down and end it. We talked about this yesterday. We'll get to the MLB playoffs here in a minute, but if you're Seattle, you wanted to have that sense of urgency yesterday to end the series in Detroit, knowing that Skubal was waiting in Game 5 in Seattle. So I think anytime you have them on the ropes, you don't want to give them any kind of life or any kind of momentum. You want to end it as quickly as possible. So I assume that's the message in that Las Vegas locker room. We'll see tomorrow night, though.
Absolutely. Let's take a break as we get Throwback Thursday cranked up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little MLB playoffs. And in our Throwback Thursday segment at the top of the second hour, we'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with Nashville Cats president and partner, I just went blank, Jeff Fisher, talking about the Cats' move for the 2026 season. So stick around for all of that and more here on Main Street Sports Today.
Got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need...
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy Bee. Oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
October 9th, 1999, scoring 5 runs in the top of the 6th and surviving a late rally, the Atlanta Braves held on for a 7-5 win at Houston in Game 4 to win the National League Divisional Series and end the Astros' run at the Astrodome. The team moved to Enron Field for the 2000 season and have continued to play there since as Enron, Minute Maid, and now Dakin Park. John Smoltz went 2 for 3 with a double, scored a run, and pitched into the 8th for the win. That was this day in Braves history. As we mentioned during the rundown, we had 4 teams on the brink of elimination yesterday in the Major League playoffs. One actually was Toronto knocking out the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. 5-2 was the final. Philadelphia stays alive, picking up a road win against the Dodgers, 8-2. Chicago stays alive at home with a 4-2 win over the Brewers, and Detroit forces a Game 5 back out at Seattle with their 9-3 win over the Mariners. So we got 3 Game 5s. Excuse me. I can't talk. I can't add. Excuse me. We have 2 Game 4s this afternoon, both in the National League. Philadelphia still trying to fight off elimination on the road, taking on the host Dodgers at 5:08 tonight. Milwaukee trying to close out the Cubs at Wrigley Field at 8:08 tonight. And tomorrow's Game 5 is Detroit at Seattle. That will be a 7:08 start, smack dab in the middle of high school football tomorrow night. So
they don't think about us, do they?
They don't think about us, clearly. Yeah. But the Yankees, the way that wild card series went against the Red Sox, you really were wondering about Aaron Boone and how he was going to survive this postseason. And now with the Yankees getting knocked out, that was the 4th time they've been eliminated at Yankee Stadium in his 8 seasons. Obviously, they've not won a World Series under his tenure and have not won one in 16 seasons now. Got close last year. See how that went. Close. Horseshoes and hand grenades. He seems to feel like everything is fine. I don't know if he's whistling past the graveyard or what, but he says, I'm under contract for 2026, so I ain't worried. Maybe that's a little.
I will get paid regardless.
Yeah, maybe that's a little Flavor Flav there. They got to pay me, boy. But is Aaron Boone back in the Bronx next year?
I think that's a really good question. If not him, then who? That would be my question to you. It takes a different person, a different type of person. You have to have this presence to be a manager in New York. All the media attention, just the amount of reporters that are in New York, looking to find a story, find a scoop. It takes a special person, and I just don't know if there's somebody out there right now that I think that can do that job. I don't know what their criteria is. I mean, I don't think Aaron Boone was the reason, Mo, why they lost this series. It was just strictly for the fact that they didn't have, really good pitching the first two games of the series. They experienced what we've experienced in Atlanta. I love Max Fried to death, but there's a difference between regular season Max Fried and playoff Max Fried. And Braves fans know the difference. Cam Schittler was very good for the Yankees yesterday. But, they just didn't hit early in that game. Aaron Judge hit over 500 in this series. Can't blame Aaron Judge. He's been the whipping boy the last couple postseasons. Oh, he hasn't hit home runs. He doesn't do what he does in the regular season. Aaron Judge wasn't the issue in this series. It was the supporting cast, really, if you think about it, that did not play well in the series. You think about Austin Wells, Trent Grisham. Lord knows they put Anthony Volpe on a milk carton. He went missing. I think for his last 15 at bats, he was 0 for 15 with 12 strikeouts. That's pretty bad. That's not pretty bad. That is bad. So it was the supporting cast for the Yankees that did them in. I don't know if you can necessarily blame Aaron Boone for that.
I don't know that you can necessarily blame Aaron Boone for that. That doesn't mean that they won't blame Aaron Boone for that. And I do think that there were some questions about some lineups, particularly in the Red Sox series, with Ben Rice sitting out some, with Jazz Chisholm sitting out some, proven major league veterans and that kind of thing, because you're playing percentages and you're playing matchups and that kind of thing. And sometimes you just got to stick your best hitters out there, particularly when you're struggling a little bit offensively. Just stick your best hitters out there and let them try to figure it out. I mean, they say as pitchers, if you're going to get beat on your best pitch. Sometimes as a manager, you need to just get beat with your best lineup rather than, well, we're going to match up and sit hot hands and that kind of thing. And so I think that's kind of where the question about Boone comes in. And you're probably right. Some guys not performing wasn't necessarily his fault, but some guys not getting the opportunity to perform might be his fault.
And I guess I'll ask you, and I will counter with this, Mo. We live in the world of analytics, right? We live in the world of analytics, and so I would wonder how many front offices live in this department of they have a hand. Now, granted, Aaron Boone has been in the manager's seat a while, as you mentioned, 8 years, I believe. But does he listen to the analytical department and say, all right, these are the guys that need to be hitting in against this picture or in this situation? That would be my question to you. Aaron Boone can't get the flack if he is diving into the analytics with the front office and they are, meshing together and playing hand by hand. Now, if it's just Booney and Booney's got the lineup card by himself, then he obviously you can point the finger at him. But when you're bringing him information and he uses that information, I don't think you can necessarily play that against him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just feel like, if the right people have decided that there is a change to be made, I'm not sure how much logic figures into that necessarily. It will certainly bear watching. It always does. But to come back to your original point, it's not just anybody that can manage in New York. It's not just anybody that can play in New York. We've seen guys who have had successful careers on the field go there and not necessarily answer the call under that spotlight. So that's something that does have to be taken into consideration. I think I don't think you're wrong as far as that goes. And with that said, it'll bear watching, I guess, right up until either there's an announcement that he's coming back or that he's not. So again, we get a game 5 out at Seattle tomorrow. I mean, it's not game 7, but it's the decisive game in this series. So it's a pretty big deal.
I apologize to our friends in the Pacific Northwest. I will bear the brunt of this, but Calvin and I talked about this, and I mentioned in the open, Mo. Seattle, you got to be kicking yourself on that flight back. You were up 3-0 in the middle innings, knowing. I mean, granted, you beat him in game 2. Jorge Polanco hit 2 home runs in that game, but knowing that Tarek Skubal, him and Garrett Crochet, 1A and 1B, best left-handed pitchers in Major League Baseball, knowing that that's the guy that you're going to face in game 5 and knowing that you just beat him. So he's going to eat some nails for breakfast tomorrow. he's going to come out fired up. So I feel for Seattle. I would love nothing more than to have a Seattle Toronto American League Championship Series. Two fan bases that one of them is going to go to the World Series in that scenario. But man, I hate that. I wanted Seattle to get it done yesterday, but also I live for these moments in the postseason where I want to see Tarek Skubal take the ball and a winner take all game and see what he can do. But yeah, just a missed opportunity yesterday for Seattle, and that you got the Detroit Bats going. I mean, they were hitting homers left and right in those closing innings.
You know, that offense just kind of came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden Seattle's like, what the hell just happened? But, you know, to your point about a Seattle Toronto ALCS, both these franchises came online at the same time. 1977 was the first year for both of them as expansion teams. You know, Toronto has gone deep in the postseason. They have made a World Series appearance and that kind of thing. But I like this matchup. I think it would be really cool to see, but also a Detroit Toronto matchup, as close as they are, you know, geographically and that kind of thing. I think that'd be kind of fun to watch too. And Skubal in a game 5, in a decisive game, you know, on the road, everything going against him, having lost his last time out. Tomorrow night should be electric out at Seattle. Going to the National League. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said it should, absolutely.
Yeah. Again, 2 game 4s tonight in the National League. Philadelphia, I don't know what to make of them having lost their first 2 games at home against the Dodgers and having to try to fight off the mat here at LA. Did it last night. You know, can they do that twice?
Kyle Schwarber came up big for them yesterday. Had 2 home runs, one off Yamamoto, I believe, and then the other off Clayton Kershaw in those later innings. I guess the good news for Philadelphia is in this series, you could argue that they've somewhat beat themselves. In game 1, they had the lead. Christopher Sanchez had a brilliant start, and their bullpen let it go down the stretch. So Rob Thompson definitely had to answer some questions about that. In game 2, you know, they battled back. They were losing. They came back. You know, we saw the bunt play with Bryson Stott and Nick Castellanos. You know, you had them right there, maybe. But Jesus Luzardo pitched really well for them to start in game 2. So their starting pitching has been really good. Aaron Nola, you know, had been injured parts of this year, pitched really well last night. So I think they can get it back to Citizens Bank. I really think they can. Will they? That's a different deal. Obviously, the Dodgers are going to feel that sense of urgency tonight, knowing that, you know, Philadelphia is a tough place to play in the playoffs. It really is. I wouldn't want to play a game 5 at the Bank Vault. So LA is going to feel that sense of energy. One thing to note, though, Mo, note the start time. It's an early start, particularly on the West Coast. It's 5:08 local time here. So that would be what, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock on LA time? 3:08? Fans are going to be lingering in a little bit late. Maybe Philadelphia can jump on them early, take the crowd out of it, and then ride the wave back to Philadelphia. That would be the strategy if I was Philadelphia. Jump on them early. I haven't looked at the pitching matchups. Who's going for LA tonight?
Let's see.
It's Glass now, I believe. So, and he's already pitched in the series, so they have the familiarity with him. So, Glass now is going for the Dodgers. I believe I saw that earlier today on MLB Network.
It is, and it's Christopher Sanchez for Philly.
Who pitched phenomenal in game 1. So you have to feel confident. I mean, he's been their ace all year. When Wheeler went down, I mean, Sanchez should have been an all-star. So I know they feel confident in him.
Yeah. David, you've played a little ball. Are you shocked at just how much that wheel play, you mentioned it a little bit ago, has blown up on the national stage?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, in that situation, I mean, Bryson Stott did his job in that scenario. I guess you're always taught ever since you're in high school, little league, you know, runner on second base, you want to make the third baseman field it, right? I think you have to give credit to execution for the Dodgers. Mookie Betts, did a really good job of keeping Nick Castellanos close to second base. And being able to beat him in a foot race. I mean, Mookie's the fleeter of foot than Nick. I would think Nick would have meant that he's not the fleetest of foot, the fastest runner. I think for Nick though, in that scenario, you got to get a bigger lead, right? Bryson did not bunt the ball like super soft, if that makes sense. Like it was a hard bunt that went right to Muncy. But I think you got to give credit to the Dodgers for execution. It took a nice play by Muncy to turn and field, hit Mookie on the run, by the way, who put the tag down. But I think if you're Nick, you got to get a bigger lead at second base, knowing that the second baseman's not even holding you on and that you can feel Mookie behind you, if that makes sense. You got a deep lead, you're back behind the base path. You can feel him, and you also know that at one point he's got to go to third now. Just one of those plays, man. But it's crazy. In the postseason, those plays are magnified. That's win or lose right there.
It just feels like to me, David, that this is a play that gets repped from rec ball all the way up. And we're seeing major leaguers make that play, and it's like, oh my God, they reinvented the wheel. Great execution, but this is a play that I would just expect major leaguers to be able to make.
Oh, they practice that
Maybe
in the
I'm being a
backfields
little
of spring
harsh.
training. Oh, they practice that in the backfield of spring training.
Well,
In
actually,
February,
that's the
March.
thing. The narrative is that that's the thing. The narrative is that they hadn't worked on that.
There's no way that
There's
they
this
hadn't
headline:
worked on
Dodgers
it.
used play they barely practiced.
Yeah.
So I don't
mean,
know.
Yeah, you practice it in spring training, that's for sure. I mean, that's one of the foundational things of what is our bunt defense going to be. They work on PFPs obviously in spring
Mhm.
training with pitchers. So, I mean, you could say that they haven't repped it in the regular season. Sure, I mean Mo, you've lived this and you've seen this. Like baseball has changed. Back in the day, bunting, hitting, and running, all that used to be like a consistent part of the game. We've kind of moved away from that
Mhm.
now in traditional baseball. But in the postseason, once again, though, and we talked about this with the Braves the last couple of years in the postseason, they're not built to bunt or hit and run. The Braves were built the last couple of years on hitting for power, hitting home runs. And when you can't do that in the playoffs, and then you ask people to square around and bunt and do those things, they're not able to execute. So I guess that's just my baseball 101 TED talk. But they definitely practice that in the spring training for sure. Knowing how to execute that and putting it on.
I think the biggest part of that play, and you mentioned it, former Overton High School standout Mookie Betts, who was an infielder in high school, but has played outfield for the large majority of his professional career. You ask him to move to shortstop, and you ask him to make that play, and that's kind of what made it work right there was his athleticism at shortstop. But the Dodgers have asked that guy to do a lot, which he's getting paid quite well to do a lot, but still, it's pretty impressive to see a guy with his background make a play like that in a do or die type situation. I'm impressed by that aspect of it. But Dodgers with a chance to clinch at home this evening when they take on Philadelphia in Game 4. Again, Milwaukee trying to close the Cubs out in the late game tonight. Milwaukee, the top seed in the National League, but I think seeds kind of go out the window when it's the Cubs and Brewers.
Yeah, those two don't like each other for sure, and just the added element that Craig Counsell was in the Cubs dugout, and the fact that he was the Milwaukee manager and he moved over to sign that big contract. Um, Man, Milwaukee had their opportunities last night as well. Obviously, Quinn Priester did not give them the start that they wanted. He didn't make it out of the first inning per se, but you know, I really feel good about Milwaukee. I really do. They just play a great brand of baseball that is fit for the postseason. They've hit their home runs in this postseason. Don't get me wrong, but they're built to steal, run bases, play good defense, rely on some good pitching, and get to that bullpen. So I do really feel good about Milwaukee eventually coming out of this DS series and making it to the championship series. And maybe that's because I've also seen a lot of these guys, get started and developed here in Nashville with the Sounds.
Absolutely. That does kind of make them a local favorite. Peralta getting the ball for the Brewers. Matt Boyd, who lost his previous decision in this series, going again here tonight. So be interesting to keep an eye on this one. Again, a lot of excuse me, a lot of local interest, like David said, with so many of these Brewers having played at First Horizon Park at some point over the course of their career. So a lot of familiarity here locally. So we'll see how that one goes. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it's time for Coach's Corner. We will visit with veteran Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach INGLE Martin. The Lions getting ready to take on Ensworth in a big Division II AAA matchup tomorrow night. Stick around.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable, local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is David Wilson. It's time for Coach's Corner as we await the arrival of Christ Presbyterian Academy coach INGLE Martin. Well, we wait no longer. He's here. INGLE Martin, coach of the Christ Presbyterian Academy Lions, joining us here on Coach's Corner. Coach, thanks for taking some time with us, man. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, thanks. Appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon. INGLE, big matchup tomorrow against Ensworth, big D2 AAA, matchup in region play. And a lot of folks would be taken a little bit aback by the 2-5 record that you guys are carrying into that matchup, but not all 2-5s are created equally, I don't guess. I mean, this has been a meat grinder of a schedule that you put together for your team this year. Just talk about where y'all are heading into this game.
Yeah, I first want to tell Mark, who texted me, that link was buried somewhere. I was sitting here for the last 5 minutes. All right, when's Mo going to text me the link? I texted you. You didn't respond, so I'm like,
I saw that.
I guess they forgot about me. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is playing the guys and the teams we played. In my 15 years, week after week, the number of future, not just college football players, but professional football players is pretty crazy. One of our coaches, we were actually talking about that this week. Memphis Melrose, number one in the state of Tennessee's history for producing NFL players. Did you know that?
Seemed like I saw that on Max Prep or something, but I would not. If you had asked me who was number one, I would not have come up with it.
So, and the number was 14, which is pretty remarkable, right? I think Brentwood Academy and some others had 10, but there's just not that many of them, right? And so, you know, the whole entire history of CPA, we've had 2 guys make a paycheck in the NFL. And I say a paycheck meaning, you know, Cooper Wallace is the only one that played in a game. Cooper, of course, Mo, you remember you had him probably on your Dandy Dozen. He was an all SEC tight end at Auburn University. And then Paul Adams, who I was fortunate enough to coach. Paul was on practice squads for 3 or 4 years. And so I say all that, the reality is there's just not that many pro football players out there. And so we played against some this year, which is crazy. But I think our kids, you know, they were battle tested, obviously. They competed, they demonstrated that they were tough. And then, you know, honestly, you know, you get in some of those games and you got to fight, but man, you make a mistake and it's 7-0, and you're fighting, you make another mistake and it's 14-0. And before you know it, it's 28-7. And you're like, it's the second half. And, you know, we've spent all of our chips on offense. I don't have any more, you know, trick plays, anything else to throw out there, but we're really proud of our kids. They're getting better each week. You know, we were right there at the Ravenwood game, lost in overtime. Last week, defense held on for the win over NBA, and really, you know, looking forward to an opportunity to have another region game tomorrow night against a really good Innsworth team.
Having said all that, though, Engel, you don't necessarily have to schedule this way.
Mo, I'll give you money if you can find me 5 football games next year. I will give you $500 per football game out of my wife's savings account.
Out of your wife's savings account?
Yeah, not mine or the school's. My wife. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Mo. If you want to have me on another show where we can talk about scheduling, and Kevin Creasy might want to join you. You know, that's the reason we played each other this year. You know, the two of us don't get a whole lot of phone calls, and that's okay. I wish that we would. You know, Will Hester is a good friend, and before he left Ravenwood, we were able to get that game scheduled. But it's, you know, it's not easy. And, you know, the bottom line is that if you want to play someone, you can. And so the whole idea of why CPA's in Division II AAA is a farce, right? Like the TWSLA and whoever put together the panel that said, oh, we feel really bad for Baylor and McCallie because they can't get enough football games. There needs to be 12 teams in Division II AAA. That's a farce. Like I can play 15 games if I'm willing to go to California, if I'm willing to go to Virginia, if I'm willing to go to Utah. Like we could have gone all those places. And so, you know, anyway, we can talk about that another show too, Mo. But yeah, so you mentioned the schedule. That's why we're talking about it. So you find me 5 games, $500. Jennifer Martin will write you a check.
I hope Jen is as easy to bargain with as you are with her money, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That said, though, all seriousness, yeah, you feel like games against Tupelo and against Archbishop Moeller and against Baylor, against Ravenwood, get you ready for the games that count here coming down the stretch and heading into postseason play, I would assume.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And, you know, I think the biggest thing is when you're playing non-region games, you know, the way that the playoffs are set up, they don't impact you unless there's a tie, right? And then if it's a tie, again, I don't agree with it, but they're going to overall wins. That's the only problem is if there's a tie within your region. Most of it goes to overall wins, which is not a good tiebreaker, but it is what it is. You play by the rules. I think the biggest thing, Georgia just released it, and I'd love for y'all to dive into it. You're a really good journalist, but you know, they're going to have a seeded playoff. And so whether that's a committee or all of these different websites that go around ranking the teams based on algorithms, I think we have reached the point where information can pick the playoffs better than historical seedings or region seedings, because Mo, you know this better than anybody. Not all regions are created equal. And I think seeding the teams 1 through 32 or 1 through 12 or whatever, however many teams are in it, most of the time the argument is travel. I don't know that I buy that anymore with the way that people are taking football so seriously across the state of Tennessee, especially the schools where you can have a good playoff game. But anyway, we can talk about that on another podcast. I think the Division II certainly needs to be seeded by power rankings, not overall ties or even, your region record.
Yeah, I saw that article. I've not had a chance to dive into it yet, but I am very intrigued by what Georgia is doing and how they're going to go about it, and how it might be applicable here, Ingle. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I did kind of note that article. Ingle Martin, Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, big matchup tomorrow against Innsworth, TV matchup. What do you feel like has gone on over this past 7 weeks with your squad that gets you ready for this one tomorrow night?
Obviously, number one teacher in life and in football is adversity, and so we've faced lots of adversity. Offense, defense, special teams. We've been stressed. Our schemes have been stressed. The way that we prepare has been stressed, and so the good thing is that when that happens, you can run for the hills, or you can lock arms, get better, and come out fighting together. And I think we've got a group of kids that are choosing to do the latter. We got a group of coaches that are choosing to do the latter. And, we've got 3 really good football teams left on our schedule that all 3 of them will impact how our playoffs go. So we're excited. The next step is Innsworth tomorrow night here at CPA.
Ingle, you mentioned just the talent that is in Division II AAA. You guys have a lot of good football players as well. 2 in particular that I want to point out. Ross Patterson, obviously, his family has done so much for CPA in your community. Just kind of talk about what makes him unique and special. Obviously, he's had some great brothers that come before him that have gone on to play at the college level. But what makes him particularly unique and special and a good football player?
So Rawls, he's got the combination that you're looking for. I think the only thing that's hurting him is, elite size, right? He is unbelievable with his balance. He's unbelievable with his determination. He's a really smart football player. He's got great hands. So if you put him out of the backfield, he can be a weapon. And then, he's tough. And so when you add up all those things with great quickness, speed, if he was 6 foot, 215, 220 pounds, I think we'd be giving the kid at Baylor a run for his money, the David Gabriel George kid from Canada. Rawls is the best kid I've coached running the ball. Really, really special, unique talent. But I think the number one thing, and someone else asked me about him this week, is that he is extremely humble, and he is all about the football team. Last year he had 1,600 yards almost for us, and he didn't even say peep to us through the first 10 games, and then the first round of the playoffs. I think he had 800 yards, right, in 11 games, and that for us was, we were in some different games, but we we're also going to let some other guys get some carries. And, he had, I think, almost 800 yards the last 3 games of the season when we looked at him and said, all right, time for you to do your thing, Rawls. And he did it. 336 yards in the state championship game last year is unbelievable. I think it's right behind Jalen Hurd and maybe one other state championship game performance, but he can do it, man. It's really, really hard to tackle him with one person. It's really hard to get him down, and then to be humble and just be willing to get back in the huddle every single snap and say, all right, boys, let's do it together. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and what's that balance like for you guys? Obviously, you have an Alabama commit and Owen Cable, a guy who's really dynamic on the outside at the receiver position that can make so many plays for you guys on the outside. What's that balance like for you guys offensively when you have two weapons like that that you can both distribute the football to?
Yeah, Owen is another talent, right? We've been blessed. London Humphreys, who had the big catch against the Vols for Georgia a couple weeks ago. London, um, kind of set the bar for receivers here at CPA. Just again, a combination of size and speed. And here comes Owen with nearly identical size and speed. And that's what it takes to be successful in the SEC. And Owen, through, our first however many games, 7 games that we played, he's been able to have really good games against everybody. And he's not just impacting it on offense. He's got several kick returns this year, punt returns that are big plays. And, he's another kid that is hungry. He wants to get better. And has been playing since his sophomore year for us. Just been a really unusual talent when you combine all those things together. But every week, how do we get those two guys the ball? And then, our quarterback, Jack Van Orman's done a really good job of finding Owen and being able to deliver him the ball in space where Owen can run. And I think the next step will be, these next 3 weeks is how do we continue to evolve offensively and make sure that other guys are getting touches, right? Because, defenses need to be able to respect all facets of your offense. And I think those two guys have definitely garnered the respect and interest of every defense we played, and they've still been successful.
INGLE Martin, longtime Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, CPA. Hosts Ensworth tomorrow night. Big region matchup. It's the MyTV 30 Friday night rivals matchup, but INGLE would much prefer to see you in the stands at his place. They are idle the following week, and then they finish up on the road at Knoxville Catholic and at McCallie before postseason play begins. Coach Martin, we appreciate, as always, you taking some time with us this afternoon, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Absolutely, Mo. Appreciate you and you guys. What you do for high school sports means a lot to all of us and all these kids and their families. So thank y'all and good luck. What about postseason baseball?
We have been breaking that down a little bit. We are still trying to figure out who's going to be the last two standing. You got any thoughts?
Well, it's hard to bet against the Dodgers, but the seems like the Mariners have something special going on. And you got to love the Blue Jay story. So we'll see.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. We'll catch you up.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. Hey, before we get out, we need to give away our weekly hardware. Let's start with our custom stone handlers in to win life team of the week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building experience than high school athletics. Custom stone handlers invite you to get in the game. Our in to win life team of the week is the Summertown Boys golf team. They won their Region 6A golf tournament last week over at the Buford Ellington Golf Course at Henry Horton State Park, shooting a team total of 319 to win by 10 strokes over Hickman County. Sophomore Hudson Koenig leading the way with a 77 for the Eagles in that region championship victory there. Summertown Eagles boys golf team, our custom stone handlers in to win life team of the week. Our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia athlete of the week from Giles County, senior Pearson Collier. 15 carries for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 39-yard touchdown catch, and for good measure, blocked a field goal that his teammate scooped up and returned 63 yards for a score. Pearson Collier accounting for 4 touchdowns in the Bobcats' 42-8 win at Cascade in Region 4-3A action. Giles County's Pearson Collier, our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia athlete of the week. Summertown Eagles golf team, our custom stone handlers in to win life team of the week. Congrats to both. Let's take a break here as we close out hour number 1 of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today. When we come back, we'll throw it back to a recent conversation we had with Nashville Cats president Jeff Fisher. Stay tuned. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We are joined now by Nashville Cats president and partner, Jeff Fisher. The Cats with a pretty big announcement last week that they will be playing their 2026 home games in Clarksville. And Jeff's going to kind of give us some insight into that decision. Jeff, first of all, thanks for joining us. Know we tried to do this last week, and technology is a beautiful thing when it works.
Well, it's a beautiful thing when you don't drop your phone and break it. So that was an issue for me last week. But anyways, hey guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Sorry we missed last week. Yeah, we've got some, we had some exciting news, last week that we broke, and it was a real fun process. It was kind of a how should I say this? It just continued to build after we played there. Now, just for take it down memory lane, we played 2 years ago. We played one game up there and really enjoyed it. And then last year we finished the season up there. Little did we know at the time that we were going to be coming right back the very next weekend and playing in a playoff game up there, which we won, and then we went to the championship. So things worked out, and we're delighted about the opportunity to go up there. And so it's not we're going to work out a deal, obviously work out business deals and things like that, but it doesn't mean to say we wouldn't be playing a game here in Nashville and so on and so forth. I mean, we really enjoyed our experience at Municipal the first year and most of last year. And sometimes you got to make business decisions. It's a great market up there. We can partner with the base, and Austin P is there, and the community is really, really excited about us coming up. So we're looking forward to it. And from a big picture standpoint, it's great for the league. The league needs a market like Nashville, in addition to Clarksville, and it just gives the league a standard for which we want to continue as we bring in new membership.
So as you discuss all that, Jeff, the question that kind of strikes me is Is this temporary? Is this permanent? Are y'all the Clarksville Cats? How would you characterize that situation at this point?
Well, nothing's permanent, but we're going to have a relationship with the city of Clarksville. And so we're going to be playing games in the future there. As far as returning back to municipal, we have no problem, or any place else for that matter. We have no problem. But is the market, they've got open arms. We're well underway with our agreements. And, there may be some more information coming with respect to, potential place to play a league championship game, if you will, there. So they really jumped out. And, the fun part about this is F&M Bank Arena, obviously, we all understand the relationship with the Predators, and the Preds have kind of taken us under their arm, if you will. They're great people there, and, Sean Henry and the whole group. So we're kind of looking forward to partnering there as well. And it's a great venue. It's an intimate venue. We got great reviews. And so we'll just kind of wait and see what happens.
Would you call this in light of F&M Bank Arena and its newness and all the bells and whistles and that kind of thing? Is this more of a facilities driven move? Is this more of a fan base driven move? Is it C, both of the above?
Well, yeah, it's a great couple questions. I would say from a facility standpoint, yeah, it's cutting edge. It's easy to get in and out. You got replay, you got jumbotrons, you got easy placement of the play clocks, and the conversion from the field. We got storage up there to store our field and our dasher boards, and and the nets and the goalposts and all those kind of things. So it is convenient, and we're excited about the technology. You guys are experts in the technology. You see it change, and there's the potential. Obviously, we have a great potential in the league, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the potential to stream and use different partners there, and then the gaming stuff that's ahead, and the instantaneous statistics, which is much needed in the league. So the league's rolling along, and we'd like to take advantage of F&M Bank Arena, which the Preds and and everybody has said, come on with open arms. We'd like to take advantage of it and try to take advantage of the current technology from a broadcast standpoint.
You mentioned the games that y'all played up there last year. I think your last regular season game was 5,000 plus in attendance there, and that's a number that I'm not sure what your numbers were like at Municipal, and I don't want to do or say anything to disparage Municipal, but I mean just that those kind of numbers and that kind of excitement, I would think is something that you didn't see a whole lot last year.
Well, we had a successful year at Municipal, and there was carryover from the year before, and there's I don't want to minimize the tradition. And again, guys, when this thing was going on, I was so busy, I really didn't pay much attention to what was going on. And now I've gone back and looked at the studies and things like that. And the attendance at Bridgestone was up around 7,000 week after week after week for years. So there's a lot of I would say cat fans and second generation cat fans that every week I enjoyed meeting, and it's not that far away. We would expect, we'll provide, and we're already looking into party buses and things like that to come up, and and things like that. So we're not turning our back on Nashville. We just feel like the opportunity to change venues is something that we have to definitely take advantage of.
Jeff, you mentioned obviously the Predators being here in Nashville, the Titans as well. Why is it important, though, for arena football to have a home here in the Mid-State, and particularly in the Clarksville area?
Well, we as I started my journey a couple of years ago, I never thought I would end up in the position that I am, where I'm the commissioner of AF1. But I did it only because I enjoy helping people, and I enjoy helping teams and programs and all that. And I'm wired that way. Coaches, what we do, we help people. We help players turn weaknesses into strengths, and you help teams be successful. Well, I'm wired that way. That's how I got into it. Didn't think I'd be here, but I will tell you this: the market's outstanding up there, and from a regional standpoint, the stress that was placed on the leagues over the past 4 decades, if you will, and the stress that's placed on the new leagues, the spring leagues, the USFL, the XFL, and now a combination is all travel. And so we felt like obviously Nashville is fairly centered. It's easy to get to. We've got teams that we've introduced that are close by. They're bus rides away, and that's optimal if you can set your divisions up that way. And so, we're working diligently to solidify our West Coast side of our league. And so, and we've got some promising commitments right now. So if you can overcome the travel and have a competitive product, which we're going to have. I feel like we've done a great job in the officiating area, and our management team at the league level. There's a bright future ahead, and it feels real good that we can go up into a state-of-the-art arena that's intimate, because the game's an intimate game. This is all about the relationship between the guys on the field and the fans in the stand, namely the kids. And so when the kids can reach out and touch the players and take the ball home with them and take these memories home with them, it's a special event. I mean, one of the first road games I attended in the arena world was to Billings, and I have a place in Montana. I have a lot of friends up there. I've had all of my buddies come down, fishing buddies and what have you, and they're still talking about the game. I mean, they enjoyed every minute of it, and and it happened to be an exciting game. I mean, you can be down 20 points with 40 seconds left and lose the game if you're not careful. I mean, it's an exciting game, and you can see I'm pretty fired up about it just because it's new, and I'm in that zone of being able to help people.
Jeff Fisher of the Nashville Cats joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And Jeff, to your point, if you've not been to an arena game, you're really missing out. And when you go, you will be hooked. I mean, it is an exciting game for all of the reasons that Jeff has pointed out: the closeness, the quickness, the whole thing. It's just really, really entertaining. It's like, well, I almost said football on steroids, but I mean, it's just the fast pace of it really hooks you up.
It is. I mean, I didn't have a clue with respect to the rules either, and the rules are really outstanding. I mean, and the game's a byproduct of the rules. There's no punting. It's a 50-yard field. You got to go for it on fourth down, and you take a shot at the end zone, or you can take a field goal. You can kick a field goal if you can. Those uprights aren't very far apart, but you can just change it. Just change it. It's going, and it's all about the fun and entertainment. And one of the things that I was really lucky to do last season was I was able to travel around the league. So I was in Dodge City, Kansas, and Salina, Kansas, and Everett, Washington, and Bend, Oregon, and Albany, and just an opportunity to go in there and see the relationships that between the ownership and the sponsorship and the fans and the players, and a lot of these cities, it's the only game in town. And there's community involvement, beyond imagination with respect to the players. I mean, a lot of the players stay, if they're under contract, they'll stay there year round. They got jobs in the cities they're working in, and they're involved in the community and giving back. And, and again, there's an intimacy there, that we talked about, and it's just really fun to experience it. And, we felt like, if we can be a model. Now, granted, we got a team that's going to make some noise up in northern Kentucky, the Cincinnati area, the Barrels, and under the ownership and what they got planned in store, there's some good things ahead in our league. So every market's different, but to your original question, it's important that we keep a team in this market. And we're talking to some teams down south, and we got a number of teams, and we got a team going into Michigan. We got a Minnesota team, and then the Albany team and the Kentucky team. So, we're not far apart. And, like I said, we're working on putting things together and dotting the I's and crossing the T's with respect to the western part of the country.
There was a lot of ambition, I guess, as Nashville came into the league a couple of years ago. And, not all the teams that you came in with are still around. Jeff, how are y'all, once you get teams in, how are you stabilizing things to keep them in?
Well, I don't want to necessarily spend too much time back in history, but the league started with problems. And that's how I got involved, because I recognized some of them and I called some people out, and there were some things there were some commitments that were made that were never intended on keeping, and so on and so forth. So the league kind of separated itself, if you will, and the teams gathered and they bonded and they worked together and they helped each other and they supported each other. And so we finished on our own, knowing that we were going to step out of one entity and into, AF1, and we did so. So this past season, we had one minor issue that we'll take responsibility for, but we got it cleaned up really quickly down in Corpus Christi, and so, but that team has since relocated to Northern Kentucky. So we're expanding. And we're doing our due diligence, and we can pretty much assure ourselves at the league level that anybody that comes in is going to be able to carry their own weight. They're going to be competitive. They're going to understand that the rules are changing. The operation of the league is changing, because we want to take this to a new place, and we feel like the timing is right with the indoor game and the flexibility, and we're having discussions with the potential international teams right now. So, everybody's going to follow the rules regardless of what market they're in. And so we're surrounding ourselves with good people. You guys have done a good job with what you've done. You come out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned, and I've heard great things about what you're doing here in town. You wouldn't be able to do that unless you had great people around you. And that's why people are successful, is they surround themselves with great people, good people, and that's what we've done, and as far as AF1 is concerned.
For you personally, Jeff, in a perfect world, would you continue as commissioner? Because you're wearing a lot of hats right now. Or would you like to be able to hand that off at some point?
Well, I think it would make sense that, we've got interest here in the franchise here after what we've done the last couple of years, especially, I think what we've done over the last couple of months. So I'm gonna continue with my role here in town. And/or up in Clarksville, and I'm committed to doing that. I don't see any conflict in it. I do want to take this league to a place that, return them to where they were and go way beyond just because of technology.
From last year, 2 years ago, you guys came into the league. You made it to the semifinals. Last year, you made it to the championship game. What has allowed you all, and you talked a lot about having good people around you and that kind of thing, but, to be as competitive as you have been with everything that's been going on, how have you all been able to do that?
Well, I'm going to give all that credit to our head coach and general manager, Darren Arbett. Darren is a handful of wins from becoming the all-time winningest coach in indoor football history. He's been doing it for decades. He's an outstanding man. He understands the game. He has great respect, and players like to play for him. And, as we speak, I spoke with them. We had some league meetings late in the weekend and early in the week, and I spent a significant amount of time with them. And the theme in the building was, how did you guys put this roster together already? And so the rest of the league recognizes that Coach Arbett and his staff is outstanding from that standpoint. They understand players. They know how to take care of players, and they understand the nuances. And it's a different world. Just to kind of give you guys an idea. The teams take care of the players' housing. during the season and their meals during the season. And so, there's a, and I think it's important from that standpoint because granted, these kids are playing this game because they love the game. I would say 8 out of 10 of them have aspirations to move on and are hoping they can make one play in one game that may catch a scout in the NFL's eye. And so, but there's a handful of guys on every team that just love playing this game. They go out and they can make some money and they can get involved in the community, doors open, but they just love playing football. And it's a different type of athlete. Again, I'm still learning, but the linemen are different. The defensive linemen are different. And as compared to this game in the past when the Cats were making their run in the decades of indoor football, those players were two-way players. It was Iron Man football. That's not the case anymore. We've got specialists in every position because that's better for the kids. I mean, you don't want to be a pass rushing defensive end and then have to stay on the field and play guard and get pass rushed against. So and hope that maybe an NFL scout doesn't see you playing guard. So, and then, I mean, you hate to lose a game because you have a cornerback that's playing that ended up as your third receiver and he dropped the ball because he can't catch. That's the reason he's playing defense, So, the positions are becoming specialized. There's a great deal of emphasis placed on the kicker. Imagine what the kicker can do in a game. I mean, if you kick off from the goal line, okay, it's a 50-yard field. You kick off from the goal line. You add 10 more yards to that. You kick it through the uprights. It counts. It's points, and they take possession of the ball. It's a touchback, but you add points. You ring the scoreboard up. So there's a lot of stuff that's unique to this world, and the quarterback position, for that matter, is different. One would think, oh gosh, if we had a Lamar here, could you imagine if we get somebody who can run all over the field? It's a shorter field. and it's not that easy to run all over the field. What's required at the quarterback position is recognition and getting rid of the ball ASAP in positions where, and the receivers now, I mean, we got receivers, I think our entire receiver crew that's just under contract right now here in Nashville, they're all over 6'3". So it's big receivers and big plays down the field and high scoring and all those kind of things. So again, I'm learning fast and I'm loving every minute of it.
Jeff, before we let you go really quickly, we would be remiss not to ask you at least one question about the Titans here in town. We saw last week where Brian Callahan calling to his quarterback coach and Bo Hardigree for rookie quarterback Cam Ward, who's obviously the number 1 overall pick this past year. Kind of talked about just developing a rookie quarterback, how it's kind of important to have just continuity and a familiar voice for him as he goes through the trial and error of his first year in a tough league.
Well, I would say Brian knows what he's doing. He's going to give Cam the best chance to be successful, and apparently Brian felt that turning the play calling duties over to the quarterback coach was the right decision. So I'm never going to suggest, because we don't have the background information, I'm never going to second guess anybody as far as that's concerned, let alone an NFL head coach. So I think they're doing whatever possible to bring Cam along as quickly as possible. Now, keep in mind, he's unique. He's special from a standpoint of he's been in different systems. He's learned different systems. He's excelled in different systems, and he's got this system down. The better they are, the better job they do surrounding him with a talent level, improving the offensive line, guys at the skill position, keep their running backs healthy, the better off they're going to be. It's not easy in this league, to start off, start the season off as a rookie at the starting quarterback position. Okay. Unfortunately, in the league, when that happens, the team didn't finish the previous year, like they did. I mean, and, when you win 2 or 3 games and you got the first pick in the draft, you have holes and you're rebuilding, and that's what they're doing. So I didn't scout Cam, but I talked to a lot of people that did, and he's going to be just fine. And being successful in an NFL offense against a team, like the Texans and the way they play defense, it's hard. And, I know the 0 on the board was embarrassing and it probably stimulated some changes, but I'm just going to encourage people to hang in there. People are making the right decisions for the right reasons. And, again, you can second guess all you want, but, this is a week-to-week process. It's a day-to-day process with the young quarterback.
Jeff Fisher, president and partner of the Nashville Cats, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Jeff, appreciate you taking some time with us. Appreciate your diligence in getting back with us, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Guys, I'd love to be a guest anytime. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now from Penalty Box Radio, the one, the only Ann Kimmel at @AnnK_Mama on Ice on Twitter. This is her time of year. Nashville Predators.
Been waiting, yeah.
Nashville Predators opening the NHL regular season tonight over at Bridgestone as the Columbus Blue Jackets come to town. And good afternoon. Thanks for taking some time with us. I know it's a big day. It's a busy day for you, so we appreciate you wedging us in.
Absolutely. You know that I love talking hockey with you guys. So anytime I can, I certainly will.
Well, we appreciate that. Plenty to talk about as we head into this 7 o'clock puck drop tonight. The youngster is actually with us, Brady Martin. Is that the biggest story tonight?
I think it is the biggest story tonight. I think if you had told anybody when Brady Martin was drafted back at the end of June that this was going to be a player that was going to get his NHL start the first game out of the gate this season, I think it would have been pretty surprising. But what he has shown in camp and the way that some circumstances have fallen together, this is a great opportunity for a young player who has showed that he's ready for his chance. Now, I don't know that he's going to be here for 82 games, but he has showed that he is ready to make his NHL debut. We talked with him this morning. This kid, 18 years old, cool as a cucumber about tonight.
Now, how much of him making his debut tonight and being on the opening night roster has to do with Luke Evangelista missing the bulk of training camp?
I think a couple of factors played into making this a much more obvious decision for the front office, for the coaching staff. And certainly the Evangelista situation played into that. With Luke missing over 2 weeks of camp, it's very difficult for him to come back in and jump back into the lineup. Another young player who had a great camp was Matthew Wood, and he was injured in the Gold Star Showcase game over in Clarksville. And so, this is another young player that had a chance to make the lineup and just was out. Another factor that's actually a positive one, Jonathan Marchessault has found great line mates with Michael Bunting and Eric Halla. And that's a player you would normally see maybe on the top line, maybe on the second line, but they have found something, the three of them, and they don't want to mess with that. So some circumstances really benefited Brady Martin's opportunity, but he certainly earned the chance for consideration in camp. He had a fabulous preseason.
Other than Brady, what specifically are you looking for? What are your storylines going into tonight?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that nebulous, unstatistically quantifiable vibes that you really need to see from a Nashville Predators team that was very beat down at the end of last season. They were out of the playoff conversation so early, and it was just such a slog for these players at the end of last season. I think we're all wanting to see that they're ready to turn the page, and some of the things that caused them problems last season are going to be not a problem. Things like communication, being more resilient under pressure circumstances. I think just having that hunger to get back. I think that's really what I'm watching for tonight. How does this team compete? What we've seen again in the preseason, what we've heard from the players in the preseason, very encouraging. They are really ready to put last season behind them, and they're doing a lot of things differently. But for me, that's really what I'm watching. How does this team come back from such a disappointing season, turn the page, and start again?
We've not had a chance to talk to you since the Evangelista holdout, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, came to an end this past weekend. One, what are the expectations for him tonight? Do we expect to see him? If so, how much? And two, what were your thoughts about how that eventually wrapped up?
Your first question, we probably will not see Luke Evangelista tonight. They are awaiting some immigration paperwork that has to go through to clear him to play. So he was on the ice this morning for practice. He's been back practicing with the team. He's been taking some reps with Fedor Svechkov and Steven Stamkos, but he will not be in the lineup tonight. As far as how that all went down, I have to tell you, it's very hard to figure out what the heck happened there. And neither side is going to pull back the curtain and tell you how the sausage got made. But this deal ended up with 2 years, $3 million a year. That's the deal everybody thought was probably going to be made back in April. So either somebody came in really, really high, or somebody came in really, really low, and or both parties said, we're just not willing to give. I am not sure why this was such a long drawn out process. It's just still baffling to the fact that he missed training camp over it is really baffling, especially for a team that didn't need any extra drama in training camp. Fortunately, it's resolved. Of course, Luke Evangelista just very excited to get back to the team, but that situation, I don't know quite yet what to take from it, but I think we always just sort of have to remember how that went down.
Yeah. I'm a little confused, I guess, Ann. So he's in town. He's been working with the team, but he cannot play tonight because of immigration issues. That's
what we're hearing.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. And Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Obviously, big night tonight. A lot of folks. It's one game in an 82 game season, but at the same time, as badly as this past season went, you want to get off on the right foot. And you talked about vibes and that kind of thing, and nobody probably needs good vibes out of tonight more than Coach Andrew Brunette.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this whole team really needed a fresh start, but I think you're right. Andrew Brunette certainly did. And Barry Trotz spent a lot of time in the offseason investing in and helping Andrew Brunette and working with Andrew Brunette to get him ready to take on another season. Because if you recall, at the end of last season, his seat was very, very hot to everybody except I
Has it
think
cooled
Barry
off?
Trotz. Oh yeah. I really don't think Andrew Brunette, despite what the odds makers are saying, I don't know that Andrew Brunette's job is in as much jeopardy as people think, because remember, he's got a general manager who was a head coach. And so he understands that perspective. I think also it helps Andrew Brunette's job security that the Predators are sort of pivoting and putting in some more young players. And so I think that buys a little bit of grace. You know, we're kind of pivoting as a team. This isn't the team that everybody preseason is saying this is a Stanley Cup contender. So I think the seat is maybe not as hot as a lot of people think that it is for Andrew Brunette, but he is somebody who desperately wants this team to get off to a hot start. It was very difficult to coach this team down the stretch for a number of reasons, but a lot of conversations with Barry Trotz. Also, very interestingly, they've been very transparent through training camp and through conversations that Andrew Brunette spent a lot of time talking to the players, to the leadership group, asking, what do you need from me? And communicating about that and having these open conversations. And I think you can sense everybody is on the same page this season. So for Andrew Brunette, you do want to get out to a hot start. We talked to him about it this morning after morning skate, and he said, you know, every year you want to get that first win, but this year you really want to get that first win.
Is his seat a little cooler also from the standpoint that his general manager who did coach is also the guy who did hire him?
Oh, yes. It's a lot harder to fire your guy that you hired than it is to fire the guy that somebody else hired before you. And you know, Barry Trotz really has said very firmly all along, even at the end of last season, he was very emphatic. I believe that Andrew Brunette is a good head coach. This is a league that doesn't give coaches a lot of opportunity to grow. And I think Bruno is really one of those people that Barry Trotz feels like, I'm going to invest in this young coach and I'm going to give him a lot of opportunity to grow because I see that there's potential here for him to be a really good head coach. So I really don't think Andrew Brunette is thinking much at all about his job security right now.
And to be fair, it's not like he hasn't had some success in this league.
Absolutely. I mean, he came to Nashville with a very good pedigree. What he did in his first season with a team that had no expectations, I think you have to respect what he was able to get that team to do. They went on an 18-game point streak. They got into the postseason when nobody was talking about them. So he, even here in Nashville, has shown that he really can coach the team. I think it's a learning curve. And honestly, I think last season, when you throw in a Steven Stamkos and a Jonathan Marchessault and a Brady Shea, that's a very different dynamic that everybody is trying to work through. So I'm not sure how much of the struggle last season was all on Andrew Brunette, but I do think the conversations they've had, I think everybody feels like they've taken some responsibility and have some understanding of what it's going to take to move forward and make this team better.
And I want to ask you in particular about a player you just mentioned, second year for Steven Stamkos here in Nashville. What are your expectations for him? Obviously, coming up from Tampa Bay, one of the most talented scorers in the league over the last decade. What are your expectations and some things you're looking forward from him this season?
I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Steven Stamkos, maybe not as many as last season, where people thought he was going to come in and score 40 goals, and it didn't go that way. Stamkos had a really tough start. He only had 7 goals through December 1st last season. So this season, what I think we're all really watching for is a hot start from Steven Stamkos. I think he feels much more comfortable. In talking with him, he was talking about the fact that so much mental energy is not taken up by off ice things. When he moved here, it was about, where's my family going to live? Where are my kids going to go to school? What are the directions to get to Bridgestone Arena? that mental energy is really freed up for him. So he's coming into the season feeling so much more comfortable. I do think a hot start is going to be important for him. It's going to be interesting to watch how that unfolds because Stamkos is going to be playing on a line with 22-year-old Fedor Svechkov as a center. It's only his second season for Fedor Svechkov, and probably have another young player on the other wing. Tonight, we expect it will be Joachim Kimmel. Could be Luke Evangelista whenever he is available to play. So you want Steven Stamkos to get off to a hot start, but he's probably going to do that with some younger players beside him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all unfolds for Stamkos.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. The last time we talked to you in the preseason, the Preds were toying, obviously, with some young players in their lines. Obviously, tonight it's full go in the regular season. How do you think those line pairings are going to shape up tonight?
I think it's going to be very unexpected. If you would have shown me tonight's lineup 3 months ago, I would have thought maybe you were a little bit crazy. With Brady Martin being in there, I think is a big surprise. I think a couple of injuries have taken us by surprise. Matthew Wood not being in the lineup is surprising. Nick Hague on defense, who they went out and got this offseason, he's out with injury as well. So there are some adjustments that we're going to see in the lineup. But one of the things that's encouraging is that we've seen a lot of these lines and defensive pairings together for most of camp. And consistency with line mates is something that I think helps the players and something they didn't have so much at the beginning of last season. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Andrew Brunette keeps these guys together as he has through camp.
Yeah, and you mentioned right there with Nick Hague with his injury. Obviously, that was several weeks ago. What does his timetable look like? Obviously, he's going to be a very important part of that Nashville defense.
Yeah, Nick Hague is out 2 to 3 more weeks is what they're saying. He has an upper body injury. He's on IR right now. So hoping to get him back by the end of the month, which will be great. In his place is another young player, Adam Wilsby. He's going to be playing with Roman Josi on that top pairing where they had penciled in Nick Hague. So that's going to be a really fun pairing to watch. Adam Wilsby, another exciting young player that fans are going to get a better look at tonight.
And Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And schedule not real nice to the Predators here early on. They've got Columbus at home tonight. They've got the Mammoth coming into town on Saturday, and then they go out for what, 5 straight?
Yes.
Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal. I'm sorry, 4 straight. Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, and Winnipeg before they get back home on the 21st against the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Not necessarily set up to be successful early.
No, this is a really challenging schedule to kick off. 7 of their first 12 games, the games in October, are against last season's playoff teams. And 4 of the other 5 teams are teams that are in the contention discussion based on what they've done in the offseason and moves that they have made on their roster. So Nashville's going to be tested early. Columbus tonight is a great example. I think a lot of people don't pay as much attention to the Blue Jackets, but this is a team that was 2 points away from making the postseason last year. So Nashville is really going to get a good idea just in the month of October alone of where they stack up against teams that are either playoffs last year or are in contention and conversation about playoff potential this year. It's going to be a great measuring stick for Nashville out of the gate. If they can get some momentum, I think there's going to be a lot of confidence if they can get some of these wins, but it is going to be challenging. These are some really good competitors to start the season.
Excuse me. As you look at Columbus and as you look at Utah, these first 2 matches, how do you like the Preds' chances in both of those?
Again, great teams to see what Nashville has. Tonight, I think the big difference maker could be goaltending. Columbus is going to be starting their young goaltender. His name is Jet Greaves, 24 years old. He has played, I think, 21 games in the NHL, but they really, really like what they're seeing from him. This may be one of those games where UC Saros is the difference maker. I think he just is going to, he's got the experience and just the skill set, I think, more mature, veteran in the league. So I think that goaltending may be a difference that we see tonight. Columbus's roster looks a lot like what Barry Trotz wants the Predators roster to look like, and it's a good mix of young players like Adam Fantilli and some veterans as well. So this is going to be a really great test tonight. But for me, I do think goaltending could be a difference maker if this game is close.
There we go. And Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Again, the Preds open the season, the regular season. These count. First of 82 tonight against Columbus, 7 o'clock on FanDuel. It's where you can see it, or you can run down to Bridgestone and check it out. Again, they follow up Saturday with another 7 o'clock puck drop against the Utah Mammoth before going out of town for their next 4. But Ann, we appreciate you taking some time with us. Enjoy it tonight. Have fun. Bundle up. Get cold in there.
Thanks so much.
We'll catch up with you. Let's take a break. Let's head into our final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. David and I will get into the grab bag. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
Welcome back into the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's David Wilson. I'm Maurice Patton. Thursday night football tonight, NFC East matchup, as it is the 4-1 Philadelphia Eagles traveling to East Rutherford, New Jersey, taking on the 1-4 New York Giants. That's a 7:15 kick. You can see it on Amazon Prime. The Giants are interesting. The Eagles are good, but obviously got some drama going on with A.J. Brown. But, you know, how dramatic can a receiver be when you're 4-1?
He's very cryptic on social media, to say the least. He wants the football. I don't remember
What
him
receiver doesn't?
I don't remember him being that way when he was here in Tennessee. Maybe it's because he was actually getting the football alongside Derrick Henry. Oh, man. I'll say this, and I said this in the open. If somebody can give me some advice on whether I need to play Cam Scatterboo tonight, feel free to hit it my way, whether it's text message or in the DMs. Yeah, Philadelphia, to be the world champion defending and to be off to a 4-1 start, man, you would think the house is on fire. But, you know, Mo, the games that they have won, it hasn't been like they have won in dominant fashion. You think about the first game of the season against Dallas. You know, if CeeDee Lamb makes some catches, Dallas could have easily won that game. You think about the Rams game where the Rams had a big lead and had the opportunity to win it on a field goal late. They had it blocked, and Philadelphia was able to stave off the win there. So Philadelphia could easily have their record almost be inverse the way that they have played. Offensively, it seems like they've really struggled. Saquon Barkley has not had the start to his season that the way he did last year. But, you know, they also – we talk about championship pedigree, right, Mo? They also have found ways to win. And so I don't see that AJ Brown situation ending well, though. That is just my opinion. That seems like it is going to butt heads and boil to a point at a certain point. But they have so many good players on that offense. But as I've said this before, as Drew Brees said a couple weeks ago on ESPN, their offense is just boring. It's boring. So we will see what comes of that.
You know, there are a lot of folks that would take boring 4-1 offenses as opposed to more exciting, less successful offenses. So not every offense can have a Drew Brees at the trigger. So, you know, I think Philly would be a little bit more upset with boring if it weren't 4-1. So we'll see how that progresses. Meanwhile, you know, Jackson Dart under center again for the Giants after they made their move here a couple of games ago. It'll be interesting to see how the youngster comes out, and your running back dilemma as well will be worth keeping an eye on, whether you make the right choice on that. So no pressure there though. Titans looking for back-to-back wins. You got to win one to win two, I guess. And after last week's 22-21 win out at Arizona, they continue out west, taking on the Raiders, who are also 1-4. 3:05 kickoff on Sunday. You can see that one on Fox. And given the Raiders' struggles, you feel like Tennessee's got a shot at back-to-back. Horrors.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this yesterday on the show, Mo. I was watching the Titans game this past weekend with a buddy at his house, and you could feel it after that DeMercado fumble through the back of the end zone. You could feel that the Titans were going to win that game. Just the momentum of football, and just think about how crazy it would be if they went to Vegas in Sin City this week and picked up another win. You know, if Titans lose that game last week, you could have made the argument that Brian Callahan might have lost his job on Monday. That they would have lost if he scores that touchdown around maybe 28-6, 28 to whatever. How the fortune had turned based on one play like that. I could easily see them win this weekend, just the way that their defense is somewhat played, and the fact that Geno Smith has turned the ball over so much over the last couple weeks with the Raiders.
Yeah, you hate to see that. I like Geno, but yeah, when quarterbacks put yeah, exactly. But when quarterbacks put the ball in danger, you know, that's kind of happens sometimes. And if the Titans can take advantage as they did this past weekend, you know, maybe they do pick up another victory. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, I don't know if we've talked about it. Traylon Burks is officially not a Titan. Waived earlier this week following that broken collarbone during the preseason. So as we mentioned, AJ Brown earlier in the show, guess it bears mentioning Traylon Burks was, you know, they were kind of connected at the hip just in Titans lore with the way everything went down with that. But Traylon no longer with the Titans, and already I think I saw the Jets connected to possibly bringing him in and kicking the tires on that one. It just feels like there's everything in place there for him to be, you know, a productive receiver in this league, just not here, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he has all the physical measurements to be a stud. I mean, he was a first round pick for a reason. Mo, I got the luxury to go watch him. I had a buddy go to Ole Miss, and I remember them playing Arkansas on their homecoming. I watched Traylon Burks, and I was like, who is that guy? Because he is going to be a first round receiver. I mean, he absolutely torched the Rebels that day, and he can never stay healthy, you know, and we have guys like that, like have all the physical tools and the measurements to be successful. But the best ability, Mo, you heard this time and time again, is availability. If you're not on the field, you can't help me. So wishing him the best. And I'm sure, you know, as first round picks normally do, he will get another opportunity somewhere. And hopefully they can make the most of it because he seems like a good person, a good guy. Just obviously, and it wasn't his fault that he walked into the situation where he has to go replace AJ Brown immediately off a playoff team, by the way. You know, be the number one wide receiver. That was a lot to ask of a young man coming out of college for sure.
we have, to be so far away, spent a lot of time just kind of fascinated with the quarterbacking situation with the Cleveland Browns. And following Joe Flacco's trade earlier this week, too, since I'm not sure why the Bengals decided Flacco was the guy, but I digress. Looking at the Browns depth chart prior to that trade, well, as only the Browns can, no. Bailey Zappi is expected to be the number 2 behind Dylan Gabriel for the Browns this weekend. Shedeur Sanders still kind of waiting in the wings, maybe, I don't know. But as they go into week 6 and a matchup, an AFC North matchup with Pittsburgh, it appears that Bailey Zappi will be the backup to Dylan Gabriel, the former Western Kentucky with the Browns. Never a dull moment in that quarterback room.
No, it is not. I kind of feel for Shador. You know, we've heard it publicized now. I mean, Deion Sanders talked about it on the New Heights podcast with Travis Kelce and Jason Kelsey. How they turned down the opportunity to get drafted by Baltimore because they thought Cleveland was the better opportunity for Shador to get on the field. Lord knows that Lamar Jackson gets hurt, and now Baltimore needed a backup quarterback, and they had to start Cooper Rush. That easily could have been Shador Sanders. So I think do we think this is collusion, Mo? Do we really think that the NFL sent a message to the teams to not give Shador the opportunity? Because there's no way that Bailey Zappi, and who's shown that he can't be a starter in this league, he had his opportunity in New England. There's no way in my mind that Bailey Zappi deserves more of an opportunity than Shador Sanders. That's just my opinion based on talent. Take out the family, take out all the rah-rah extra stuff. Based off talent alone, Shador Sanders deserves more of the opportunity in my mind than Bailey Zappi.
Well, he deserves an opportunity, and Zappi has had one. It seems. I don't understand. I don't want to throw the C word around just because getting 32 teams to agree on something sounds kind of diabolical, but that doesn't mean that it's not within the realm of possibility either. So I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. But it's odd, strange, what have you. Obviously want to mention MTSU's loss last night to Missouri State, 22-20, missed a field goal that would have won it with about a minute or so remaining. Tough loss for the Blue Raiders, 1-5. Missouri State's first win in Conference USA. Tough sledding over in Murfreesboro right now. Kind of glad I didn't go over there. But the bigger news in college football right now. Apparently, Bill Belichick has gotten a vote of confidence from Carolina AD Bubba Cunningham, as a lot of talk has indicated that maybe they might be going separate ways real soon, like before the Tar Heels' next ball game next weekend. But again, I spend too much time on social media, but there was talk about Belichick looking for a way out and a soft landing spot, and Carolina trying to figure out how to get out from under his contract. And so the University Athletics Department went to the lengths of putting out a couple of statements. Belichick, I'm fully committed to UNC football and the program we're building here. Bubba Cunningham, Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and University. We all know how votes of confidence go. They are typically kisses of death. So, it's wild to me watching that situation unravel.
Oh, it's awful. It's bad. I mean, it started with them getting their butt kicked by TCU in the first game of the season. They got their butt kicked this past weekend by Clemson. So it just hasn't worked out. I know we got a minute here left in the show, Mo, but if Bill would have just retired once Tom Brady left New England, he would have been in coaching lore forever. But ever since he left, things have so changed.
It's not been pretty at all. It's not a good way to wind things up, and it's kind of unfortunate, but it's like a train wreck. You can't watch, but you do. So, that's going to do it for the Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Tomorrow will be a compilation, a best of show that producer Mark will be putting together for you, as both Wade and I will be elsewhere. Come back with us Monday, 2:00. We'll let you know everything that's happened over the weekend. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you.